Well, hello, my friends. Dean the Turkey Legster here on another Thursday evening for a Once Upon a Turkey Leg. This is the weekly stream where I go live and I read some fun stories. And um, since we're in December, I am reading, of course, Christmas stories. And I'll get going on those in just a few minutes, just a minute. But as I'm doing on all my streams, um, little countdown to Christmas. Today is December the 12th, and there is 13 days until Christmas. The season is going by so fast. I hope you are enjoying this season and having a very Merry Christmas and able to do festive things. And that's kind of one goal of this stream. Jason, welcome in. Hello. Happy Thursday. Hope you're doing all right tonight. I was live on this morning from Lou Gardens, did a little stroll around there. I recorded a vlog, and I actually, with some of the video I actually get 2 videos out of what I did today. So that'll be great. That'll be coming to the channel in the next week or so. So, yes. Um, so last week on Once Upon a Turkey Leg, I read Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Olaf's Frozen Adventure. And those were fun stories. I do apologize. I don't have my turkey leg ears or any of my Christmas things. I did have kind of a crazy day. I was at Lou Gardens this morning, as I said. I came back, then I ran out to the store, and then I was just kind of just had an interesting day. So this is going to be good for me to help relax. So anyway, without further ado, I am going to go ahead with the stories tonight. And yeah, so the first story that I am going to read is How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown as the warm lighted windows below in their town, or at the warm lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically near, practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise! Oh, the noise, 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 noise! That's one thing he hated. The noise, 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 noise. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beefs, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. Exactly. And then they do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. And they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? Hmm. Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. Do 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 do. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Get up!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square. "This is stop number one," the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first things to go." Do 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 do. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant. Around the whole room he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch, very nimbly, stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimbley. Oh. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Do do do. Da 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 da. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I will stuff up the tree." And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than two. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santy Claus, why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and then I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Hey Noah, welcome in. Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to all the other Whose houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Whose mouses. It was 1/4 past dawn, all the Whos still abed, all the Whos still a snooze, when he packed up his sled, packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Whos, he was humming. He was grinchishly humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Whos down in Whoville will all cry, moo-hoo. Hi, Gloria. Welcome in. Happy Thursday. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. Oop, okay. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry. Very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. Hey Mary, welcome in. Welcome. Good to see ya. Hope you and the kitty cats are doing well. Welcome in. Happy Thursday. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed through with his he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. Oh, excuse me. And here's the picture. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. And that is How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Yes, Gloria, I watched The Grinch. I watched The Grinch a couple days ago myself. I watched the movie for what I'm going to read next after I get a sip. A few days ago as well. Yeah, welcome in everyone. Mary, welcome in, and hello, and Noah, and Gloria, and then Jason also. Thank you all for being here. That was the first story out of 2 stories that I'm doing tonight. And so without further ado, let me go right ahead with the second story is The Polar Express. The Polar Express was written and illustrated by Chris Van Allsburg. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend told me I'd never hear, the ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night, I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. "All aboard!" the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I took his outstretched hand, and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet through the quiet wilderness. Mm. We climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. "There," said the conductor, "is the North Pole." The North Pole. It was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first we saw no elves. "They're gathering at the center of the city," the conductor told us. "That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas." "Who receives the first gift?" we all asked. The conductor answered, "He will choose one of you." "Look!" shouted one of the children. "The elves!" Outside we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no farther, we stopped, and the conductor led us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart, and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and pointed to me and said, "Let's have this fellow here." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee, and he asked, "Now, what would you like for Christmas?" Chris, welcome in the Curtis family. Happy Thursday. Welcome in. I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood, holding the bell high above him, and called out, "The first gift of Christmas!" And Julie Gerbil, welcome in. Happy Thursday. Merry Christmas. A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us, then disappeared in the cold, dark polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said. But the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. What? I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. Merry Christmas! He shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. Arjons, welcome in. Hello, Richard. Welcome in. Happy Thursday. Merry Christmas. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C. I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yeah," yes, said my father. "It's broken." When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. Hmm. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me as it does for all who truly believe. And that is the end of my second story tonight, The Polar Express. A little tricky with it's a big book, really tricky, trying to make sure you guys could see the pictures and hold that up, but I hope you enjoyed that. That's one of my favorite movies for Christmas. It ties with the Charlie Brown Christmas as my favorite show or movie to watch this time of year. And and that is the stream tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Yeah, so welcome in to Arjons, Richard, welcome in. Mary Carol came in. Trying to think who else came in after. Chris, the Curtis family, Julie Gerbil, welcome in. Happy Thursday. Merry Christmas. Welcome in, everybody. Oh, Mark Langenkamp. Hello, hello. Well, that is the stream for tonight, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll be back next Thursday for more Christmas stories, and of course, next Tuesday for Let's Talk Turkey will be I've got a fun subject to chat about next Thursday. I look forward to coming back for that. Also, next Wednesday, I will be streaming from Fort Christmas in the morning. I'm actually probably 10 o'clock, I think. Not exactly. I don't remember when I set up the stream. It's been like a few weeks, but that's next Wednesday on the 18th. I will be streaming from Fort Christmas. Keep your notifications on. I'm going to maybe be doing a pop-up stream Sunday morning, maybe somewhere between 11 and 12 from somewhere. Um, that's a possibility, but it will be a pop-up stream. So keep your notifications on and mark the one day Wednesday, the Wednesday stream and the Sunday stream. If I go live, Mark, it on Sunday it will be in the 11 a.m. to noon hour. And my stream next Wednesday, I have it set up. It's on the channel. It's Fort Christmas at Christmas time. I think it's 10 o'clock a.m. Whatever it's set up for is when I'll plan to do that. So anyway, if you haven't already, bop that like button and everyone on the replay, if you watch this on the replay, leave a comment. Let me know that you were watching. Otherwise, I don't know you were here. Um, yeah, so take care, guys. Have a gobbletastic evening and a Merry Christmas. And I will see you on the next stream, which will be before you know it. So bye, everybody. Take care.